Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Court Martial Podcast. Introducing your host for this evening first. He is the host with the most from the West Coast, the Bay Area brawler, Skylar Greenberg. And his partner, he has colonized, energized, and revolutionized the podcasting wrestling world today. Your colonial champion, Sean McCarty. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Court Martial Podcast, the podcast made by Smarks, for the entertainment purely of Smarks and anyone else who's along for the ride. I am your colonial champion, Sean McCarty, bringing you the high-energy action that only CMP can provide, and of course I don't do it alone. Because to run an empire of this quality, to see one of the most exponentially fast-growing programs on YouTube today, you have to stay with not only myself, but with this man. The man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour. He is the Bay Area brawler himself and the proprietor of the National Wrestling League, for which he will be drafting more men today, as will Acpw. Skylar Greenberg, welcome to the show, buddy.
I have a dream that professional wrestling will be treated with respect, dignity, and pride.
By people in the business?
Yes.
Maybe? Would that be great?
Happen, though, 'cause I don't think that dream's going to happen.
Well, is this the real life or is this just fantasy? Well, it's fantasy booking, folks. So what we're doing here today is it is, of course, the third week in the month. And what we have done since we've started is come up with a fantasy booking series since June of 2020, where we take the modern wrestlers of today and we form them into wrestling companies and booking and storylines you can be proud of. I, of course, the owner of Atlantic Coast Pro Wrestling, and Skylar, the National Wrestling League. We are heading into season 3. And as such, we are keeping some wrestlers and dropping some wrestlers. But before we even get into that, let's just talk about the status of the shows, shall we? What are your thoughts heading into season 3, Sky?
Well, you have made the challenge to me that let's book a show, because we kept complaining about wrestling, and we're like, let's show our work. Let's book these shows, and let's use the talent that they refuse to use and show how to actually do it. And I think we've done it.
I think we've done pretty well, considering that both of our shows have two very uniquely different flavors. It's not like NWL's format is completely different from ACPW's, but somehow both are very engaging and both still make the talent involved feel more important than they did prior to them walking in the door.
Right. So let's talk about our products and what our companies offer, because you and me had two very different takes on professional wrestling. Do you want to go first, or should I?
Well, I'll tell you what, seeing how I'm picking first I will let you go first in the description of the NWL.
Well, with the National Wrestling League, the idea is that we would form territories. So we will take two wrestling territories. Yours happens to be on the Atlantic coast. Mine's on the West coast. And the idea I had is that, what if we took modern wrestling, but put a mixed martial arts / sports element into it? Because I want to focus on the sports more than the entertainment.
Right.
Granted, there will be still a little bit of entertainment in there, because we're showmen. You have to present. You have to, flare it up a little bit.
And it's 2022, there's gonna be some entertainment flavor no matter which way you present it.
But the whole thing is that wrestlers and sports, what do people like? Numbers, rankings, betting. Put these guys in a situation where they have to fight to get to the top. You can't get to the top just with one random match to become number one contender. Looking at WWE. But
also not doing meaningless statistics that actually don't help the wrestler feel more important or get more over, or you don't see 12 anywhere between 12 and 84% of the matches that those people are in. So when you see those statistics, you're like, where the hell did all those matches come from, looking at you, AEW?
Exactly. It's one of those things where AEW tried to do it, but the problem is that they're doing it in a way that feels phony, artificial, because we don't see them wrestling. We see them on the TV shows and the pay-per-views, but we don't see the dark matches. So if a guy has 20 wins on dark, what does that really mean?
Yeah, we don't see the dark matches. We just see the Dark Order. Who will probably not be drafted if I were to guess.
I don't have enough room to
I don't have enough
all those ice cream loving goofs on my roster.
I don't have enough patience to put all those ice cream loving goofs on the roster.
Well, I use the modern formats. What format do you use?
Well, my format is definitely a more classic approach, a little bit more old school territory style as far as the formatting is concerned, as far as how the film is actually shot, how the angles take place. You're not seeing many backstage angles that don't center around an interview, right? You've always got somebody asking the questions and somebody answering the questions, and if things go down in those situations, it's more confrontational and it's more like, I've added more real life confrontation rather than adding, it's like little things like the top rope disqualification, which I've used very few times because it would get very, very stale very quickly if I used it more than a few times, but it works. As well as little things like sometimes people coming down with no music, because they're trying to interrupt something. So it's not like, the entire place timed when these people are coming out when somebody says something inflammatory. So I wanted to try and get a more holistically real approach with the idea that everybody in the business is willing to do business and everyone in the business is also willing to protect their own business for the sake of their business. And under those givens, which are obviously the hard part of professional wrestling, which is why we're just fantasy booking and not dealing with egos, Cody Rhodes in real life, we're getting the chance to really showcase what an older school approach could do for wrestlers who would fit that kind of format.
Right, and the whole thing is that we don't have unlimited rosters. We only have 40 slots, and even then, you can't have 15 or 20 main eventers because you can only support so many people and so many roles.
Yeah, I think I speak for both of us when I say that one of the hardest things about this has been roster balance.
Right, because you can't have everybody in the main event. You can't have everybody fighting in the mid-card. You're going to have people that are going to lose. And you like these people, but they're going to lose. Yeah,
but that's sometimes developing a great roster is also developing a set of great losers, if you know what I mean. So, so you got to take that into account as well as, how to build people up. And it's kind of sad that here we are going into season 3 as I feel like we are really cooking when it comes to our creativity as far as finishes are concerned, as far as the stories we're telling on both sides of us. And we look at the competition, which are the people who are actually in charge of this stuff. And God, they seem to like a lot of our ideas, don't they?
They keep taking our feuds and keep using our storylines to the point where I'm wondering if somebody is watching.
Yeah, I'm getting a little concerned here because I'm like, well, geez, I mean, if you're just going to take our stuff without giving us some sort of base pay, but in any case,
here's the thing: is that Edge and Seth Rollins won the Grappling of the Year for Feud of the Year. Should I take that award because I'm the one that booked it first?
I mean, it would be. I don't know if we're allowed to do that because that's kind of a self-indulgent award ceremony. If you get nominated and you win it and accept it.
Well, that's what the Slammies are.
But
so.
I suppose that's fair. But we're trying to maintain a better reputation than good old Uncle Dave when giving out awards. So, and seeing how Uncle Dave is in a little bit of hot water himself for a kind of an off-color joke he made of late, which we're just going to leave right there and not get any further into.
Do better.
We've got.
Do better, Dave.
Do better, Dave. Do anything better, Dave. Y'all slacking across the board. But in any case, what we're going to do here is we've decided what we did last year is we kept 20 and drafted 10. Well, now we've got larger rosters. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep 25, which includes a male, a female, or a tag team, which counts as one. And we will draft 15. So what we're going to do real quick is we're just going to go through the lists of who stays with who before we start drafting.
Now, the thing about it before we begin is that just because we are not protecting someone does not mean that we cannot draft them in the future.
Correct.
It's just that we put it at risk that they get taken by the other guy.
Exactly. So we've got...
very particularly, these guys are exclusive to their rosters unless we give them permission to go over to the other side.
Right, which has happened a few times, of course, with our with that wonderful collaboration that we did with Roman Reigns and MJF. So, there's a lot of fun collabs that we're doing. But I also have to say, Sky, I like that we've kept that to a very infrequent number, just because I like kind of having our own shows, having our own identity without too much cross-pollination. So that when we do that, it actually matters.
Because the thing is that if we did that all the time, then it gets boring,
right.
a.k.a. Raw versus SmackDown every single year.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing the company softball game, as Josh again so affectionately puts it. That's not really our style. We're here to, and considering that we're on two separate coasts and, we're trying to make money on our own coast, it costs a lot to fly halfway across the country to send wrestlers over.
Right, imagine what it was like sending Shorty G to wrestle one match on, Charlotte, and then fly him to Las Vegas and wrestle 3 more matches.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, no, he had a haul. I mean, he didn't mind the pay, but still, the point being is that we do that when the time calls for it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be all the time. So we're excited to bring season 3 to you here, folks, because this is what's great is that not only are we also always able to cycle talent, which we try to do as frequently as possible to keep our shows fresh, but we also get to see how people have grown in the year in actual wrestling, and that kind of changes how we view and how we decide how our rosters go.
Right, because obviously the thing we're keeping in mind is that do these wrestlers get better? Do they get worse? Do they come up with something that makes them really, really interesting to want to book?
Or do they become wholly unmarketable?
Exactly.
Which happens to happen quite frequently nowadays. But
in the worldwide wrestling entertainment spectacle.
Yeah, that's right. Or in the... Well, yeah, I guess that is a bright umbrella, not even counting WWE, or those fine folks down there who are calling themselves We Weren't Entertained. And if you would like to know what the hell we're talking about, feel free to pop over and listen to some South Carolina Championship Grassland for one of the strangest factions of all time, but I kind of dig it. But now we're going to move on to our roster breakdowns. So, Skylar, I'm going to let you go first on this. Tell us who you're keeping. What are your 25 slots going into this Season 3 draft?
Okay, so it's broken down into 3 categories: single males, women, and tag teams. We will start with the single males, and they are as follows: Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura, Keith Lee, Sami Zayn, Alexander Hammerstone, Jacob Fatu, Kota Ibushi, Dominic Mysterio, and Powerhouse Will Hobbs.
I completely forgot you had Kota Ibushi. Because I haven't seen him in forever.
Because the thing is that I'm waiting with him and Alexander Hammerstone to debut them at the right time.
Oh, okay. Well, re-debut for Ibushi's case.
Right. Tag teams: the Usos, the New Day, the Almighty Crew, Bobby Lashley, and Apollo Crews with Eric Bischoff.
Only 3 tag teams, okay.
And then the women: Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch, Toni Storm, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Piper Niven, and Raquel Gonzalez.
That's a pretty stacked women's division. I can't lie to you there. Your women's division has always been very thick, and I appreciate how thick your women's division is.
Thank you. The thing is that basically the males, mid-card, and main event scenes are pretty much set. The women's is set. The tag teams, I want to work with the tag teams a little bit.
Sure.
So you're going to see a little bit of creativity with them.
All right.
Now, as far as... Well, yeah, we'll see. Here we go with the unprotected list. And these are wrestlers you could draft if you want to. And I think there's one that I already know you're going to draft.
Potentially.
Edge and Christian, who I'm retiring, basically. I'm not bringing them back a third time.
That's fair. I will not hoist that upon you again.
Pat McAfee. Because the issue with Pat McAfee is that I haven't seen him wrestle for a year and a half. Ever since that program with him and Adam Cole ended.
I'd like to.
That's the thing. I would like to.
I'd love
but
to.
for
I'd
now-
love to see Pat McAfee back.
But there's not much I can do with them. Rey Mysterio, the Motor City Machine Guns, The Bar, Drake Maverick, Otis, Heath Slater, Fandango, and Tyler Breeze, the Young Bucks, Daniel Bryan,
Yeah.
Naomi, Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, Ty Conti, and Shotzi Blackheart.
That's, it's funny because a lot of those losses, with the exception of a couple, are like, you don't necessarily need them because they're like well enough lower on the card so where you could just draft a whole bunch more jobbers and probably still be fine. So
And again, if I want them, I can get them.
that's right. You've got most of the people that are the most important.
Except you notice who I hesitated with.
Yes, I
the
did.
name, right?
Yes, I did. And that's the one and only name that makes me go, huh? But you did cut him off for the time because we didn't know what he was going to do. Right? Because when 2021 was odd for Bryan Danielson, as far as when he left, and then you like half retired him until he showed up in AEW, but then he didn't really show up that much.
Well, he showed up at the end of the year, which is what made it difficult.
Yeah.
Because there was talks about him retiring, so I had to mini retire him, but he's back and available, and you could take him.
Well, we'll have to see how it goes. Because, meanwhile, come the ACPW roster, and thankfully for all of you who are watching on the YouTubes, you are seeing a wonderful little PowerPoint with all of these names that are being kept, and it's all nice and wide and probably a little bit blurry, but it's all there. And it's all there for you to see, so you're going to be able to keep track of what roster is what. And now, let's go into the keeps for our fantastic program. We start out...
The Atlantic Coast.
Yes, that's right. Atlantic Coast Pro Wrestling will retain MJF, Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman, Jeff Cobb, our world champion Titus O'Neil, Randall Keith, Cody Rhodes, Shorty G, Adam Page, Roddy Strong, Adam Cole, Eli Drake, Andrade Cien Almas, and Kenny Omega and that is our men's division, wrapping up that whole clan. Then we've got, I believe it's 5 tag teams we're retaining. We are keeping FTR with Jim Cornette, the Briscoes, the tag champions, wrestling's finest, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, Beer Money, and Outlaw Inc., which is Eddie Kingston and Homicide. And for our women's division, we are retaining Dr. Britt Baker, Camille, the women's champion, Serena Deeb, Zelina Vega, Shakily Dakely, Katie Forbes, Mickey James, and Shayna Baszler. Remember how Katie Forbes was a gag last year? That was a make something out of her, and then she became one of the most captivating women until I launched the women's division.
Yes.
To be fair, I went 1-1 for the women you gave me that year because I could do jack all and nothing with Alexa Bliss.
Nothing you could do with Alexa Bliss's gimmick.
Yeah, not with that gimmick you couldn't. But that means here we go for the drops. Now, I think there are a few prospects that you may take a look at here. And I'm not saying you're going to draft any of them, but there's some you might take a look at. Brian Cage, the former ACPW heavyweight champion Brian Cage, it's just... what's he doing lately?
From world champion to dropped.
Yeah, hero to zero. Dustin Rhodes. The only reason I didn't retain Dustin Rhodes is that I felt that there really wasn't any further I could go with the brother-on-brother story, and that was really the only reason he was there.
I know, it's the same thing with Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, it's like I love
once you tell
Dustin.
the story, you got nothing else.
Yeah, I love Dustin, but I don't want to have him overstay his welcome, you know what I mean? Man Scout Jake Manning. I have a feeling I'll be seeing you in a little bit. Unless you for some reason take Man Scout Jake Manning, which you're welcome to do. He's definitely a high end draft pick. Tommaso Ciampa, if you want him, have him. Trevor Mann, Damian Priest, Richard Holiday for the men. The Hardys, of course, I retired. Unless you would like to snag them up for whatever reason, I won't stop you from doing that.
No.
Miz and Morrison. It's not that I don't like John Morrison. It's not that The Miz isn't a person, just don't have the room. Private Party, and I'm a little sad I had to drop these two, but they're really going nowhere for me. Orange Cassidy and Sammy Guevara, the team known as Orange Guava.
Well, here's the thing. It's not Sammy's problem. It's the other guy.
Oh, yeah. And
like Sammy is still a quality wrestler.
He is.
He's at least got a good face, a good look.
Yeah.
He can talk a promo a little bit. It's the other guy that's the problem.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I just didn't get to do what I wanted to do with him. Also because I think that what I'm trying to do with him, I'm also trying to do with somebody better. So I don't think it's worth it to use Orange Cassidy for it. It was a fun idea at the time. And then for the women, Carmella, Ashley Vox, Ruby Soho, which was totally pointless, and Allison Kay.
Now, again, any of these unprotected wrestlers, we could redraft if we want them, if we feel like we can, do something still with them. It's just a matter of we had to protect 25, and there are other people that are higher up on the card that we needed to protect.
That's right. So we've got quite an interesting set here to keep on board. So this is the rosters that we are going into Season 3 with. So I think we should just get this party started, don't you?
Well, before we begin, we should explain the rules of the draft.
Yes. Why don't you do that for us?
So, we have 15 picks. Me and Sean will go back and forth with Sean starting and me picking second. You can pick any single male wrestler, single female wrestler, or, if you want to, a tag team. But if you draft a tag team, at least for the first few matches, they have to be a tag team. And they have to be a tag team that's either existing now or existed before, as long as both members are still active.
Correct.
You cannot draft any retired wrestlers. And you have to draft wrestlers that as they are now. For example, you can't have prime Kurt Angle in the ring, unfortunately.
Right. Now, and the only caveat to that is if you want to change the gimmick of somebody, you're allowed to, unless one of us gives it to each other, because we have some swerve picks that we always do every year. We started with Josh again doing it, and then that turned out to be a complete disaster, a brilliant disaster, but a disaster nonetheless, one that I'm sure Josh again is very proud of. So now we've decided that we just give each other some challenge picks. So on the 9th pick and the 14th pick, I will choose for Skylar, and Skylar will choose for me.
Right. And ultimately, the goal of this is to pick out your wrestlers, pick out your prospects, and see what you do with them.
That's right. So with 13 picks of our own doing and 2 that are provided for booking challenges, we have got ourselves a hell of a draft. Shall we get this started?
You didn't protect Rob Van Dam either.
I didn't protect Rob Van Dam. Oh, I forgot to write him down on the list. Yeah, Van Dam's gone. Sorry, Rob.
Although, again, you could draft him up if you wanted.
I could if I really wanted to. But he was good for what he was there for. So, pick number 1. And the reason I got pick number 1 was that Skylar got pick number 1 in our redraft last year. So, this year, I will do the honors. And now, decisions. Now, what I did this year is I broke up all my prospects into 3 tiers. I have about 6 or 7 tier 1 prospects, I have 6 or 7 tier 2 prospects, and I have 6 or 7 tier 3 prospects. So we'll see how this goes. But I think the hardest pick of any of them is pick number 1. Because there are a lot of options, especially ones that just became available upon recognition that one was dropping said person. And I really want to take said person. However, I'm willing to risk him retaking that person to continue using him for that purpose in order to draft a man who... I will explain why I'm drafting this man in 2 ways. Way number 1, because he has proven to be a complete and utter difference maker. He has proven to be the person who moves mountains when it comes to professional wrestling. And he doesn't even have to be around to do it. But when he shows up, everybody stops to watch. And number 2, I am really excited to just cut some of this man's promos. Because I've been waiting to do this for a long time. My first pick, I couldn't resist. CM Punk.
I knew you were going to bite on it.
I had to do it. I had to take him. Because we passed up on him last time. Because both of us were like, well, we want him, but we don't have any place for him. So what better time?
We weren't even sure if he was going to be that good. Because, yes, he had the match against Darby Allin. We're like, okay, can he prove that he can be a consistent wrestling machine? He proved that. Does he still have the promo game? Yes, he still does that. He still looks good.
Yeah, he's one of the most believable people on AEW. You know, even when his segment is bad, it's the best thing on the show. And I can't not have a guy like that on my roster. And what's great is that because I have so many big guys, you know, it's like physically big guys, having a guy who's smaller, who's that kind of total package is a good kind of counteract to what I've normally got on the table. So I think it's going to be kind of something to freshen up my top scene in a way that will really bring season 3 to an interesting set.
And because you drafted him, I can't have him, and Joshua can't have him either.
That's right. That's right.
You get the exclusive rights to CM Punk.
That's right. I had to do it. It cost me a lot of money, but I got him.
He's gonna make up your money in a day.
You know, I can't dispute that. I cannot dispute
All you have to do is sell ice cream bars.
That's right. Well, they're already being manufactured as we speak.
Right. Now, let's go on to my first pick.
Yes, sir.
Now, the thing about my roster, if you look at it, is that there's one issue with the roster. It's an older roster, and I admit it's an older roster. I have a lot of guys who are in the mid-30s or 40s, so that's their primes. But the issue with that is that these guys could get injured, and then I don't have them available anymore. So I need to draft a prospect, and I need to draft a hot prospect. And this prospect is the hottest of them all. He's a total package. He has the look. He's putting the wrestling together. He's not doing bad promos. And more importantly, he has the lineage. I am taking Bron Breakker.
I saw that coming a mile away. I thought about getting him, but I couldn't help but take the bait of CM Punk. But Bron Breakker is going to be... he is the star of the future. Period.
By the way, his name is going to be Braun Steiner because fuck Breakker.
I mean, you could just call him Rex Steiner and just give his regular name because that sounds a little bit more along the lines. And
no, but his real name is Bronson.
That's true. There's a lot of Bronsons in WWE, or at least there were.
So he's going to be Braun Steiner. Or I guess I could call him Rex Steiner. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. Maybe you'll come up with some comfortable middle there. But a terrific first pick. I mean, he's huge.
He's 24 years old. He only has so much potential and so much to fill out.
That's right. And then that's the exciting part about this. And well, you know, it's interesting now because here we go in pick number 2, and what I was really excited for was that I was going to be able to get, of the top 3 prospects I wanted, I was going to be able to get at least 2 of them. And you did a wonderful job getting the person who I expected you to get. Because now that I know that this person is available, and you weren't just going to cover your tracks to get him, I'm going to have no choice but to take Bryan Danielson.
I ran into a problem with Bryan Danielson, and that's just that I have such a loaded main event scene, but you can use him so well.
Well, the thing about Danielson is that he, as tremendous as he doesn't necessarily need to be at the top of the card right away. Because this is a guy who could make our mid-card feel even more important than it already does, just by his presence in it. So, welcome to the squad, Bryan.
Daniel Bryan is so versatile. He can do so many things.
Yeah, welcome to the squad. I cannot wait to have you on in ACPW. The as JR would say, business has picked up.
Right, and now I'm going to come in here with my flaccid, limp energy and take one of the big guys.
Oh, come on now. It doesn't have to be that bad.
And now I'm going to take one of your guys, but clearly not on the same level. I'm liking what I'm seeing from this individual, And because he is connected to another person that's on my show, I think he's going to be very good as a supporting wrestler. I'm going to be drafting Richard Holiday.
At pick number 2?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I like this. I like this.
The thing about it is that, again, my mid-card and main event are mostly full, and I don't have much slots in my tag team. So I'm like, I need to fill out the mid-card, but I don't want to just,
I like this. You're definitely, the thing is I'm definitely looking at like results now, and you're definitely looking at results later. I'm definitely kind of filling up, like I'm kind of getting that big old Macho Man Randy Savage versus Hulk Hogan 1995 belly. Well, you're definitely just sitting there like, yeah, here I am with my new generation salad, just kind of waiting.
Now, if only I could get MJF.
Well,
that's not gonna happen.
Don't count your teeth. He may show up. He does still have an invitation, a la Roman Reigns, to appear on NWL programming. So
yes, and I have 2 of the 3 members of that group.
So that might be a fun little side reunion here. And I hear you have a wonderful Heart Foundation Cup tournament that happens every year.
Except I may not be doing this year.
Oh, okay. Might be changing things up.
Details to come out soon.
That's right. That means you all just got to stay in the loop. And the only way you're going to stay in the loop, might as well throw it in here. You got to like, you got to share, you got to subscribe, you got to hit that bell button, switch it to all so that every time a video uploads, usually on a Friday, sometimes on a Saturday, sometimes on a Sunday, depends on how the week goes. But on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to go bing, and that little bing is going to be us, and you get to hear all of it happen right there on YouTube for you and for us. Richard Holiday is your pick, which brings me to number 3. Now, this is where I run into a bit of a block, because I've got a lot of interesting ideas for this, but realistically, I've got a lot of my men's roster. My men's roster is pretty solid right now. I'm not worried too much about how it's going as far as who I've got and what I'm working with, but I do kind of want to fill in a little bit more of my women's roster, because I kept a lot of good guys. I kept a lot of good tag teams, and I'll get back to the tag teams, but I want to grab a female who I think, while I couldn't necessarily work with hokey garbage, the person themselves was not to blame for that. So my third pick is going to be actual regular person Alexa Bliss.
When Alexa Bliss is the mean schoolgirl who has a little bit of help, whether it be her male friends or her female friends, she can be good. She can be good.
I refuse to work with this stupid Lily gimmick. I had nothing to do for it, but I like the idea of Alexa Bliss. She's a good worker. I enjoyed when she was, her promos used to be good. When my voice didn't crack when I said promo, it sounds even better, but I can't help these things. And neither can Alexa Bliss help getting just hogtied into a garbage gimmick from Bray Wyatt. It's just, and the fireball thing. I think that there's been more done to ruin Alexa Bliss in the past year and a half that shouldn't have happened because of the way that how good Alexa was up to that point.
I know.
It's hard to conceptualize that she'd be any use now just because of what happened, but I'm gonna work with her. Now that I don't have to keep the gimmick, I'm gonna make something out of Alexa Bliss.
Fair enough. Well, for this next pick, now that my men's scene's mostly filled up, I need to start fixing the tag team division because the tag team division is kind of in shambles. I need to bring back a team who is a former champion and who do great things, and they don't raise the bar, they are the bar.
I actually considered drafting the bar and taking them back. I considered it, but I figure I've got a lot of top tag teams in my roster right now, and if I brought the bar back in, they'd go right back to where they were. And I didn't want to do that to them. So I'm glad that you're redrafting them, and I'm glad that they're remaining in your tag division.
Right, because the thing about it is that I have a 4-team division that it's at the top, and the Bar is the fourth member of that division's top, and I need them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like your idea to go for tag division, because I'm also going to dip my toe into the tag division for pick number 4. And I'm going to dip into the tag division with a team that, again, felt a lot more valuable a year and a half ago. But 2 Stadium Stampede matches have really kind of soured the whole prospect of them. Plus, one of them acts like a total goober. And because I would be able to be like, nah, you ain't doing that, because I'm booking this show, and you're not going to be doing half of the stupid stuff and the weird-ass expressions that you make. You're actually going to work serious, because I know you can work serious. And when you do work serious, I enjoy watching you. The problem is you don't do it enough times, and you have a dumpster of a tag division to work with, so the only people that you work any well with are FTR, and I've already got FTR. So I'm going to grab you guys too, because you guys can make a difference. I'm going to grab Santana and Ortiz.
They are on my list of tag teams. It's just that, again, it's tough to work with them because we don't see them enough.
Well, we don't see them serious enough.
I know that.
Well, at least Ortiz's part.
But they have to be the backup for Chris Jericho.
Yeah. Not on my show, they're not.
He's not even going to be on your show.
You damn right he's not. But I'm sure he's going to be on your show, though.
Hell no.
What, that wasn't your 4th pick?
Hell no.
Well, then who could it possibly be?
It's not going to be Kane, I'm going to tell you that right now.
Well, I mean, it could be Fake Diesel, former ACPW star Fake Diesel.
Whatever. Anyway. So, even though this tag team has disbanded, I like this tag team. I want to continue working with them. And they're both still active, and I still want to work with them, and they're going to be important depth for the tag team division. The Motor City Machine Guns.
Motor City Machine Guns. Welcome back to the NWL roster. And I like what you did with them, too.
Need that depth.
I like that. I like that move. Definitely a solid move. Well, that leaves me at pick number 5 to choose a man. This is the first time I'm actually going to take somebody who I've dropped, because I didn't have many people in the group that I dropped that I wanted to take back in. But this guy I do, because, like you said, Sky, you look at the roster and you realize you need some younger prospects. They may not necessarily be the oldest. They may not necessarily be the youngest. But it's having some younger prospects and people to work with and manufacture and help build is something that you really need to develop. Whether you know where they're going right now or not, they could take the kind of time to develop them. And when they're not involved with bullshit zombie gimmicks, they're actually or associating with rappers, very skinny rappers, they're actually quite entertaining. So I'm going to reclaim Damien Priest. Something tells me you're not happy about that.
That stupid, what was it? What is it that he does now? That, I'm going to be evil. Now I'm going to be good. Now I'm going to be evil.
Yeah, let me just be mad and get myself disqualified because Rick Boogs is annoying. Oh, God. I'm not blaming him for that. I blame WWE for giving him dumpsters.
Damn straight.
That's right. So, welcome back, Damien Priest. Happy to use you.
Okay, pick number 6.
Pick number 5 for you, sir.
Number 5.
Here at the Drev, now on the clock.
This is the hard part now, is that the board is starting to thin out a little bit. I did have Damien Priest on my board, but I had to get the Motor City Machine Guns in the bar back first.
Yeah, I think your tag division needed more attention, admittedly.
This is tough, because I want to build my tag team division, but there's no good tag teams.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Well, we've already gotten rid of all of the tag teams I had on my list. Because that's pretty much all we got.
But you know what? I need to draft. I'm going to dip into the women because I need to draft a woman.
Okay.
Because I can work on the tag teams later. I'm going to draft a woman I had before who I identified as having a prospect. I don't think there's much there with her yet, but I still want to work with her, and I want to see where she develops in the real world before I bring her on in a serious role. I'm going to bring back Ty Conti.
Ty Conti, okay. I agree. She's not there yet, but she's still got potential.
Right, she's only 26. She has time, and more importantly, she has that look. She has the athleticism. I can work with that.
Absolutely. Totally get that. So, now, where does that put my next pick? Number 6, I am going to dip back in to my previous pool because I still need one more tag team because I like having a round tag division at about 8 teams. So you get some jobbers, you get some mid-card, and then you got the top guys, and you can kind of interchange based on what you're doing. So I do want to reclaim one of the tag teams just to have a set of jobbers on the squad. So I'm going to bring back Private Party to do just that.
Because at this point, that's all they can do.
Exactly.
Damn you, Matt Hardy.
Yeah, I'd like to blame AEW for Matt Hardy, but sadly I have to blame Matt Hardy for Matt Hardy. I can blame Rebby, though. You know what? I blame Rebby. No particular reason, just cuz.
Let's see here. I'm going to need more...
You could draft Rebby. There you go. That's a top name prospect.
Yeah, if I want to repopulate the entirety of North Carolina.
You could give her a rabbit gimmick.
Oh, God, no. What is wrong with you?
Oh, man. Oh, well, how much time you got? All right.
Okay, I'm going to draft an individual who I have as a jobber. It's one of those things where he does a great job as a jobber, and he was able to get some heat. I'm going to bring back Heath Slater.
Slater Gator.
Speaking of a man with kids.
Yeah, seriously, he got him.
And keep him as far away from Rebby as possible. Otherwise, we're going to repopulate all of North Carolina.
Oh, dear Lord. Dear Lord. Could you imagine what those offspring would look like? I shudder to think.
Orange-haired Hardy.
Yeah. Oh, good. Let's just move on.
Just imagine Matt Hardy with orange hair.
That's, well... I mean, if Matt Hardy made the streak orange, that might work, but
he would just look like a broken pumpkin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when Halloween comes around, I mean, that whole gimmick is based on kind of like a quasi-horror style creepy guy anyway, so... But in any case, speaking of creepy guys, I am going to take next... Actually, where do I want to go with this? I can go with creepy guy. I guess that's just to fulfill the transition there. And you know what? I think I'm gonna, because you basically just like on the last show that you had, Frozen Frontier, you basically put out the badminton neck. You got that shuttlecock and that little thing, and you made that serve, and you rocked that shuttlecock all the way over to my side of the net, basically begging me to take him. And so, I guess I'm going to take him. I'm going to grab Nikolai Jozovic, formerly known as Otis.
You're not going to use Dragunov?
No. I know, it's a little larger of a last name for me to kind of, like, it's a bit of a mouthful for people to be like, oh, did you see that match with Dragunov? As far as, like, just Jozovic. I don't know. Weirdly, in the name test, that works better for me. Doesn't really matter either way.
This is tough because, You know what? I'm gonna take the plunge because you just mentioned the individual, and there is something there, and I want to see what there is. Ilja Dragunov or Dragunov, whatever.
Okay. Ilja Dragunov. I like that. He has had some tremendous matches. Cannot dispute that. And
watch before NXT UK, another Triple H baby gets destroyed soon enough.
Oh God, I know. Yeah, yeah. You can kind of see they're targeting it.
Yeah,
they're setting their sights.
Division gone. People from NXT gone. NXT UK's next.
You know, well, now that Walter has officially left NXT UK, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all. Well, pick number 8. As much as I would like to take Walter, I don't have any space for Walter. Although I'd be interested to see what you did with him if you ended up grabbing him. But for pick number 8, I'm going to go back to the women. And I'm going to pick somebody who I believe has not gotten a proper representation in professional wrestling. Part of it is that she's not the best she's not one of the top tier women, but I think she's definitely serviceable in what she does. I've liked her work in NWA, even though we didn't see a ton of it. I'd like to see more of it. And I think that I have an angle that would definitely be interesting. It may not test well, but it'll be interesting. And I think the person to do it is this person. I'm going to draft Marti Belle.
Marti Belle was always the woman who left me wanting more.
Agreed.
I mean, if you can do something with her, then that's great.
Agreed. So consider this a bit of an experiment. And we'll see if it works and we'll see if it doesn't.
We shall see. We shall see. I'm going to go back to the tag team division because I need to start drafting some jobbers because I can't expect those 5 teams to lose all the time. And I use them as my fashion police. I use them as the laying down of the law of bag outfits. And they're going to be back again, Fandango and Tyler Breeze.
Yeah, they're definitely laying down a lot. Laying down a lot for the law.
Oh, yes.
That's right. Enforcing the law as firmly their shoulders can be pressed against the canvas as possible. We're here to protect and serve and put over the people we're trying to push.
Now it's the fun pick, right?
Now we're at pick 9. So, what do you got for me, sir?
Well, my attitude, I'm going to give you one good wrestler and I'm going to give you one bad wrestler, okay?
Let's do it.
And I know you said you have no room for this man, but I'm going to force you to make room for this man. You're drafting Walter.
Okay, fine. I'm
down. My thing is that you failed with him the first time you ran with him. I won't want you to fail him again.
Fine. I automatically have an angle for him. I'm glad. Thanks for doing that. I can definitely make that work. I could definitely. So, oh man. Now, what do I want to give you then? Because you gave me you gave me a really good wrestler. He's a really good wrestler.
And he fits for your product better than my product.
He does.
Because my product is a modern style, and his is more of a throwback to the 70s, 80s.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'll tell you what. I will give you a pick who some people may not necessarily love, but I know is going to be... He is remembered very fondly. And I think that he's had some incredible moments in the ring that have been highlighted and showcased very adequately by the framework that was the original NXT. And I think that that's really going to play in your favor. I also think that you have the type of show that more fits this type of person and this type of prospect. And considering how well, just personally, I think that you create baby faces to be and how well your baby faces work, I think this person is really going to come in handy for you at a time that you may not expect it. I'm going to give you Johnny Wrestling. That's right, folks. Johnny Gargano.
Again, it's just I like Johnny Gargano. I think he's a great heel wrestler, and he's a decent babyface. But again, he's been kind of milquetoast the last few months. It's just
Is that his fault? Is that WWE's fault?
Yes and yes. The other thing too is that he's really small.
Yeah,
so
he's
it's kind of hard to push a guy who's that small.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a challenge though, and I think you will be up to the challenge. I think you can do it. I definitely think you can do it. But
well, who are you gonna draft next?
Well, see, the next guy I want to draft. Here we are at pick number 10, and I'm thinking I've got a couple women, but I want to add a couple female jobbers to the mix. So I'm going to take somebody that I dropped because she is great at doing just that. Welcome back, Ashley Vox.
Okay. Well, here's the thing, is that because of the pick that you just gave me, I'm going to have to pick this person because intrinsically they're going to have to go everywhere together.
Of course.
So I pick Tommaso Ciampa.
Now, I won't lie to you. I kind of gave you Gargano knowing that you'd probably take Ciampa afterwards. Because I genuinely want you to do something with DIY more than I did. And, you know...
That's the thing, is that what can I do with the two of them? I mean, granted, they were one of the top tag teams I wanted in the first draft that we did.
Yeah. Yeah, when we started this, it was a top prospect. I think it was like top 5 is what I grabbed them in.
You drafted them number 3.
Yeah. Yeah, they were in the top of the list. And just with the way that these past 2 years have gone, now it's just like I'm giving you Johnny as a swerve, and you're taking Ciampa almost just by necessity.
I know.
Oh wow, you know what? Maybe it is with Johnny. You know why these two aren't in the way they are? Maybe they're just listening to the wrong music.
Perhaps.
Maybe they're listening to the wrong music. Maybe they need to get on the bandwagon instead of something different, something revolutionizing in the music industry. And I think I've got it for them, Sky. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely no idea.
Well, let me tell you, folks, because there's a new era in entertainment, and it has arrived. AB Productions CT is proud to drag you out of the superficial monotony and overproduced, oversimplified modern musical mud pit with 2 industry-busting artists slowly taking the world by storm. A Bizzle and White Nux deliver an avant-garde approach to music that blends elements and instruments of a wide number of musical styles, including, but not limiting to, hip-hop, R&B, jazz, funk, rock, house, EDM, and so much more. It's high time for the music industry to be shaken to its core, so come be a part of the foundation-breaking movement by supporting aspiring artists. And right now, catch the latest release, The Wax Apocalypse, a 32-track album that took 2 years, the whole pandemic, to come together. A saga of epic proportions awaits your eager ears. So look for A Bizzle, spelled A-B-I-Z-Z-L-E, or White Nux, spelled W-H-I-T-E, space K-N-U-X, on SoundCloud, Apple Music, and Spotify for this and the entire AB Productions CT discography of over 100 songs and projects including Retreat, Mixed Bag, Verses from a College Grad, Bare Men, and many more. All just a short click away. The link will be in the description. Come join the entertainment revolution with AB Productions CT. And have you heard any of it, Sky? How great is it?
Huh? Sorry, I was listening to something else.
That's because he had his earphones in listening to the music of AB Productions CT, and he was having so much fun that it put him in a comatose state of bliss to where he couldn't listen to my words because he was having so much fun listening to their words.
Yeah. But for real though, these guys worked very hard on their album. I mean, over 2 years and through a pandemic. If you get the opportunity to, give them a listen and support small artists.
Yeah, it is different. It's definitely different than anything you're going to be seeing out there released by any major labels or any of the top 3, the Sony, the NBC, the Warners, all of that. You know, it's got elements, but it's unique. It's unique to its own sound. So give it a listen, folks. There's a lot. We've got it in the description. Give these guys a chance. And so now let's move back to the draft, shall we? As we hit number 11. And now I have some decisions to make.
Well, here's the thing. We're at the point of the draft where we need to draft jobbers.
Well, I've drafted a few jobbers kind of just to maintain the ranks. But I also want to grab somebody who... My roster, as you know, is kind of balanced as far as old and young. But I have somebody, a team that I want to work with. And there may be one star out of this set of two that actually emerges out of this group. But I think there's enough there to make something out of if the timing is right. And because I believe very much in at least the one person in this group, I'm willing to draft the second person in this group to get the point across. And if I want to split them later, I'll split them later. I'm going to grab the Varsity Blondes. Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison.
Solid pick. Are you keeping Julia Hart too?
If I
You might as well.
if I do, it'll only be as an escort. Like, I'm not going to actually have her wrestle.
Well, obviously, you're not going to... Well, maybe she'll cut promos.
Yeah, maybe she'll cut promos. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, jobber time, jobber time. Job. Drake Maverick, come to me.
Drake Maverick. I thought you were getting ready to do get some B-team action going in there from the sound of your chants.
No, I'm not doing that damn B team.
It's God, remember when they actually felt like important?
That was because the tag team division was so lackluster. They didn't have anybody.
Yeah, and that was actually one of that and the Miz Taraj.
The most interesting part of that tag team was the one time that they had Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt wrestle against each other and didn't acknowledge the fact that they're brothers.
Yeah, yeah. Because the one time that they almost every other time they are so in everybody's face about relationships, but they do not want to acknowledge that the Wyatts even know each other.
So rotundas.
Yeah,
The Wyatts.
they're there's the Wyatts out there in them swamps. And speaking of number 12, I'm going to choose somebody who I'm actually kind of surprised has not been taken up to this point. He is my perennial mid-card fodder, but dear God, is he good at it. He got completely This guy has spent more time on the shelf than any other member of my roster because he's just so damn good at getting injured. I'm going to pick the man where when the going gets tough, this man mans up. Welcome back, Trevor, man.
I got nothing for that pun.
Yeah, I know. You have hated it ever since I said it the very first time, and that has not changed.
Because there's an acceptable pun, and then you just go for the worst one.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But that's wrestling. That's wrestling at its heart.
Okay, fine, whatever. Next pick. I'm going to pick a tag team that's made of women.
Okay. I suppose that's allowed.
Even though they're not particularly very good, and they're only going to job out. I wonder who it's going to be. Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose.
Okay. That's not where I thought you were headed with that, but okay. Welcome back, you two.
You're just going to job out to the horsewomen.
That's right. Well, I believe that. I definitely believe that.
Also, it's me cheating so that way I can get 2 female jobbers for the price of 1.
Well, it is cheating, but I'm going to let you allow. All right, fine. Fine. You want to do that? Then I will do that as well. If we're going to do that, then I will choose let's see. Well, if I am going to do that, how do I want to do it? Okay. I'll tell you what. I'm going to add a little level of intrigue to this women's division. If we're going to do 2 women for the price of 1 here, then I will do the same because they are technically a part of a tag. Even though I've yet to see them tag, but they are part of a tag, and it's not Tony Khan. It's Tony Khan's fault that they're not being pushed more like an actual tag team. I'm gonna choose the tag team of oh god, now I can't remember their names.
Just say what the people are.
It's Reba and whatever the fuck her other name is.
Jamie Hayter.
Jamie Hayter. That's the one. The one that's actually decent. Jamie Hayter. I'm gonna grab.
Here, do you want to know what their tag team name is?
Sure.
Dr. Britt Baker's Bitches.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Say that 5 times fast.
That is no. But if we're gonna do that, because they will probably be there to job, but Dr. Britt's got a career going on. She's got a simp of a husband. You never know what these two's interaction might be with her.
Because we truly need to get Wrestling's Finest some dates.
Well, I think Wrestling's Finest is doing just fine as the tag champs, but
whatever. Anyways, next jobber. Give me Naomi. I'll take Naomi.
Naomi's coming back. All right, well, we're at pick 14, sir. Which means that you now give me the bad wrestler.
Now, here's my question. Did you purposely pick 14 as the bad pick because historically in the Royal Rumble, anyone who comes out at number 14 has horrible luck happen to them?
I didn't. I picked it because I wanted pick 15 to not be one that we're giving to each other. I'd rather have that be one that we want.
By the way, look up the history of number 14 in the Royal Rumble. It is sad.
Yeah, it's one of those unlucky numbers. Was it? When did Nakamura come in? Was that 18?
14.
It was 14. Okay, yeah. So that pretty much tells you all you need to know.
That one, Umaga dying after, Rey Mysterio getting released. Shinsuke got kicked in the balls several times.
Yeah, it's a rich tapestry.
The rich tapestry. I'm going to give you this tag team I know you hate just because it's going to be funny to watch you swerve even though you're just going to job them out.
Are they coming back?
It is Shitty and Poopy.
Oh my god! Oh no! Oh no! Okay, I could work with this. Because, and for those of you who don't know who we're talking about, it's the Street Profits. Angelo.
Pizza.
Yes, that's right. Pizza Hut Juniors. So
that should be their team name.
Pizza Hut Juniors.
And they come out in pizza costumes.
Yes. They just come up as 2 different slices of pizza. My name's Cheese. This is Pepperoni. And oh man. Oh god, I could see it now. We'll call them Stuffed Crust Express. And oh man, I like this. I'm already having fun. So hey, maybe they'll do something other than job, but they'll probably just job. Okay,
they'll probably job.
Then I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you a person who, if you're going to give me somebody I really dislike, I got to give you someone that you really dislike. I've got options here. Because some of these people have wrestled in the last year, as much as we've hated seeing them around, and as much as they have been completely irrelevant for the past 20 years until they decide to just book them for a title run for no reason, I could give you your most hated individual in wrestling. I could do it. I'm not gonna do it, but I could do it. Instead, I'm gonna give you a prospect. And I want you to work on said prospect until you can make something worthwhile of her. And you know what? Now you know for a fact that you cannot claim that your show is not as equal opportunity, as not as completely diverse as any other roster out there in professional wrestling. And her wrestling may or may not be good enough. I don't know. Ask Tony Khan. I'm giving you Big Swole.
One thing swollen is my head. Because I am going to bash it against the wall. trying to book this woman.
Yeah, she's I have a feeling she may not be winning many matches.
No, she's not going to be winning many matches.
And I thought about Jade Cargill, but there's actually potential with Jade Cargill. So that's why I decided against Jade Cargill. Because really, Jade Cargill's issue is that she's being overpushed more than she's bad.
There's no potential for Jade Cargill on my roster because I have so many good women over her.
Well, that's true, but I would still take probably Jade Cargill's ostrich kicks over Big Swole's anything.
Everything.
Anything. So that leads us to our final pick. And Skylar, oh my God, we're going to finish this podcast in under 90 minutes. Say it ain't so bad, man.
Well, that's because we didn't have much that we're doing. We're just getting in and out.
That's right. We got a draft, and our draft is big, and our draft is wide, and our draft is thick. And now
you're going to be your last thick pick.
So my last thick pick here. Well, I already chose Nicola, so I can't really get another thick boy. And you gave me Walter, so I really don't have any more space for a thick boy. So
well, why don't you draft the man scout?
Well, I'm thinking that that's probably who I'm going to have to take. Because I do have another name on here, and we'll talk about it in a second. We could talk about other prospects that we were looking at. But I think that is the right move. I do need a male jobber. I need somebody like Man Scout. I can't work without him. I love the dude too much. Welcome back, Man Scout. You will always have a spot on my roster.
Alrighty. Now we go to the last spot on my roster.
Who you got?
I'm going to draft actually a semi-big name with this last pick.
Okay.
But I want to set this up. So when I drafted this individual, I had high hopes for this individual because he had been creatively stifled in one company, and he got the chance to go to the other company and really do something. And I just watched his work, and I'm just like, yeah, there's good to it, but there's so much bad to it. I'm just wondering what the hell is going wrong. And then I unceremoniously dropped this individual because I'm like, you know what, I can't work with this guy. And then I've learned some of the circumstances for why his work is not that bad. And now there may be a story to tell. And ultimately, I need this individual considering who else is on top of my company. So I'm going to draft Jon Moxley again.
Jon Moxley comes back. Welcome back, Jon Moxley. I think that's a good choice. I think you knew I was not going to pick Jon Moxley. So
hence why I saved him for the end.
Yeah, I think you knew that was probably a safe bet, that I was not going to go after Mox. But it's a good pick. Again, he fits your style more than he fits mine. So good on him. He's had a very interesting go of things. So, let's see what you're able to do with him. I think that now that Roman Reigns is starting to go, Thanos on everybody, Moxley's a good pick to bring back into the fold. So it'll be nice to see him back. Well, that was a hell of a draft, sir.
And there are some interesting names that we didn't pick.
Yeah, and why don't I'll start with a couple of the names that I had on my list, and you might be surprised at some of them. A lot of the people, I didn't have a huge list. Most of the people on my list were taken, either by you or me, which is interesting. Tier 1, I was going to grab her, decided not to because I want to make something out of Alexa Bliss. Almost took Taya Valkyrie.
Alexa Bliss is younger. You can get more mileage out of her.
Yeah, and I also think that just in general, and this is no knock on Taya Valkyrie because she is good. I personally think that Alexa's a little bit more marketable.
Yes, and also I think Taya Valkyrie's a bit overrated.
She's fine. She's fine.
She's a good wrestler, but I don't think she's a great wrestler.
Yeah, she's fine. And I was going to grab Morrison again, but I also thought, Joshua's doing a lot with him in South Carolina Championship Grappling, and I really don't want to get in the way of that. So I kind of just let him have more JMO so that he can actually use him to the fullest potential.
The other thing, too, is that we're getting to the point now where we have to acknowledge Joshua as the third person. so we kind of have to start considering the exclusivity rule.
Right. Within reason. Within
reason. That's why there's a lot of guys who I didn't bring back.
Yeah.
Who were on his roster.
Sure. And let's see, another name that I was going to grab that I didn't. I thought about bringing it, but I at the end of the day, I just couldn't do it. I was going to grab Hikaru Shida. And at the end of the day, I couldn't do it. I was just like, how do I put her in? I got nothing. I had no feasible way to incorporate her in.
She's the antithesis of your style. Because Hikaru Shida, your style is throwback to 70s, 80s, hard-nosed wrestling, old-school territory. What are you going to do with a person who dresses up in frilly dresses?
I mean, she's not as offensive as some of the other... She's probably the least offensive of the Japanese women on AEW's roster. And for what it's worth...
But she still doesn't help.
For what it's worth, she's fine when she doesn't do those big stepping knees with the chair and go out of the ring for an hour and a half in the middle of a match, which I would be able to rein in and regulate. Her matches with people like Serena Deeb aren't the worst things in the world, but again, she's one who needs a worker in order to really look good. So
exactly. She can be a champion, but she's not going to be a champion that makes the person that she's wrestling against look good.
Right. I could make it work, but it would be work to make it work. And then I kind of just toyed just as a joke about just grabbing Christian just for shits and giggles.
Yes, but the problem is that you would need Edge too.
Maybe, but at the end of the day, I took CM Punk and I took Bryan Danielson. How am I supposed to take Christian and make him feel anywhere near important? No knock.
Exactly.
Love the guy. Love the wrestler. Think he deserves to not be the guy behind Edge all the time. But I just couldn't do it. And that's pretty much it. Everybody else on my list, you either took or I took.
And you almost gave me Goldberg.
I almost gave you Goldberg. I almost did, but I thought the Big Swole is more useless.
Yes, because at least Goldberg has a name and he's big. Big Swole is useless. She's not even going to be a good jobber.
Yeah, that's going to be like the 30-second squash. Big Swole misses a punch. Charlotte natural selection. 1, 2, 3. That's the only time I'll accept that.
I have a gimmick for her that I think is going to work and draw heat.
Well, we'll see. I bet you could make something out of it. Maybe you will.
Okay. So, for my roster, I didn't have as big a list because I already kind of knew who I was going to get. I was very terrified I wasn't going to get Braun Steiner.
I thought about taking him. I really did think about taking him. But I realized that in a lot of ways, I've already got a lot of people like Rex on my roster. And as a result, I don't want the whole roster to all look the same. So I had to pick a couple of guys who are big names, top names, and could actually feasibly still be top names, even though they're not necessarily the largest dudes. So which is why Walter is actually a big plus, because that fills in the gap that Brian Cage, the void that he left. But I'm also getting to supplement that with people like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson, so I can kind of thicken things up while not necessarily having the whole thing be a big beef fest.
Right, but the thing I debated about Walter, but the problem I have with Walter is that he as good as he is, he's almost too big.
Yeah.
Because the thing about him is that my guys, they're big and they're strong, but they're not big and strong enough in at least aesthetics-wise to match what Walter does. And again, Walter fits your style of wrestling perfectly.
Yeah.
He could be that monster German heel.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Which would work very well. Or I think he's Austrian. Right? I think is he
but he spent most of his early childhood in Germany.
Yeah,
that's
so
why,
I mean, same kind of thing, that kind of central
semantics.
Yeah, Central European, that whole jazz. Right. But I think we've got some pretty solid rosters here, Sky, heading into season 3.
The one pick I don't like is the Johnny Gargano pick.
It's going to be hard. And you may come up because we are going to do what we did last year. So come May, we're going to do the ad drops. We're going to do them. Then we're in August. We'll probably do another ad drop because we're not going to add 10 more slots to this roster. 40 is plenty. So we'll do 3 ad drop periods over the course of the year. So we'll be able to kind of shift these rosters around a little bit.
Sounds good because, as again, professional wrestling stables and companies do not stay stagnant.
That's right. You got to cycle talent in and out. And that's also one of the things that I think has really hurt WWE lately. You've seen everybody on that show for a very long time.
And then now they just did a bunch of releases of like 80 people, which is also not what you should do because you shouldn't all release so many people that quickly.
Yeah. So it's better to do it just with 15 at a time like we do.
Or just moderately.
Yeah, that's right.
Just like do it in moderation. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, WWE, I'm not sure if moderation is something that's in their vocabulary, but but definitely misappropriation and stealing are things from their wheelhouse. So Skylar, protect your booking notes.
I will.
As I will be protecting mine as our first show for ACPW and NWL. We will air in February, in the 3rd week in February. So that's when Season 3, Episode 1 officially debuts for both NWL and ACPW. We are planning to have a show next week, but I will let everybody know that while we transition here about to go into our first commercial break, I am heading out to Florida. I've got to take care of some business as far as kind of finishing some affairs up with my dad. So I'm going to be gone for about a week, from Thursday to Thursday. By the time you're hearing this, I will already be in Florida. So I will be back on the 27th. So chances are, if we're going to have a show, it'll probably be airing on that Saturday or Sunday, probably one of the days, maybe even the day of the Rumble. And then the week after that, we are going to have our Royal Rumble review.
Who knows? We may end up doing the Royal Rumble review the day after. We're just not sure.
Yeah,
it just depends on timing and how we feel and whether or not WWE makes us so depressed that we need a week to recover.
Yeah, it depends on how worth it this Rumble is. And but, depends on how many forbidden doors they decide to break down or build up or whatever they decide to do. Like Roman curtains, they decide to split open Kevin Dunn's teeth and walk through that. Who knows? Who knows what we're going to find come the Royal Rumble, but I know that you'll be there with us. And until then, it is time to go to our first commercial break. Sky, hell of a draft. Great year for ACPW versus NWL. I can feel it in my bones.
And everywhere else. And if you are going to want to listen to all this great stuff, again, we ask you to like, share, and subscribe to the Court Martial Podcast and pay attention to our sister channel, TAW Gaming, as they will be doing their own version of wrestling in the form of South Carolina Championship Wrestling, as well as Royal Rumble Review.
That's right. So, and stay tuned for that. Of course, we will definitely be doing a simulcast, so you'll be getting the Totally Awesome Podcast version, as well as this esteemed version of the Royal Rumble review. And also stay tuned. We're not going to reveal too many details yet, but there might be a new channel on the horizon. So stay tuned. We're not going to give you any details more than that, but there is a lot of interesting things cooking up in the back kitchens of the Court Martial Podcast and TAW Gaming, so stay tuned for that. That's been the Bay Area Brawler, Skylar Greenberg. I'm going to botch his name to finish off the show because that's just the way things roll. I am your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty, and we will be right back right after this.